Let's speak about the USPS contract, baby. What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a finance advisor. I got the clothing line to prove that fact. And today, I just want to speak about the USPS contract. So Workhorse, Ford and Oshkosh, and then also Carson as well. There's a lot of questions being asked right now, particularly in regards to Oshkosh and Ford and their ability to change their prototype if they so wish to. And with that point being brought up, there's a lot of people questioning, can Workhorse really win the majority of the contract? 50, 75+%, as a lot of us have been expecting for a while. Now on this channel we speak about Workhorse a lot, and we have been doing so for 7 months or so at this stage. And over the first few months of that, we did speak about Oshkosh and Ford and all those guys quite a lot, okay? We haven't done so as much over the last few months, so what I really want to do today is I want to go back in time. You'll see the first article I have here is from January 20th, 2015, okay? That's how far back I want to go, back to when all of this began, and we're going to see why the USPS wanted to do this in the first place. We're going to see what kind of vehicles they were looking for. We'll have a look at what kind of specifications they've been looking for from the very beginning. We will have a look at Oshkosh and Ford. We'll have a look at Workhorse. We'll have a look back when there was 15 people in the bidding process. We'll have a look at things like this. New delivery vehicles will be more efficient, the CSO of USPS said back in 2015. We'll have a look at how things have changed since then when there was more companies for the proposed contract, and how it took pretty much 3 years for Oshkosh and Ford to actually team up. And then I want to speak about a few things that the CEO of Ford and Oshkosh have been saying in regards to the contract as of late. Alongside that, I want to speak about what the government has been saying for 5 to 6 years, up until extraordinarily recently with Biden, in regards to how important it is to get the right kind of fleet vehicles. So we'll go back to 2015, we'll come as recently as just a few days ago, back when Biden made this announcement when he wants to replace all government fleets with American-made vehicles, electric vehicles, and there are a few more bits and pieces in between. So we will have a look at Workhorse, but the main thing we want to speak about is the actual USPS contract today. So my friends, right before we do get into the video, before we take a few steps back in time, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button? Drop me a comment down below, let me know, are you invested in Workhorse or are you invested in Oshkosh, Ford, any of the other parties? And please, my friend, if you are indeed new around here, hit that juicy red subscribe button. We just broke 90,000 subscribers, so we're really going to try push to 100,000. If you are interested in joining my private Discord group, that's the first link in the description, my friends. In there you get access to all of my buy and sell alerts, my short-term investments and my long-term investments. We're currently running a 10k to 20k challenge in there. Get access to over 50 private channels, join a community of 2,500 investors. It is juicy, my friends. And if you like 2 free stocks on Webull, that's the second link in the description. You just got to sign up, deposit $100, you get some free money. It's easy, baby. Now with that being said, we're going to go all the way back to when this began, okay? January 20th, 2015. The USPS is seeking suppliers for the next generation delivery vehicle, the NGDV program. That's what we know it as today. And all these years later, it is still going on after numerous delays. This was meant to be done and dusted by 2018. And then it was meant to be done last year, towards the end of the year. Then we got another delay, and it should be done within the next month and a half or so. Obviously, there's no guarantees. We'll have to wait and see. But today, I want to try to get into the heads of the USPS. So the USPS operates a fleet of over 200,000 vehicles in all areas of the United States. Approximately 163,000 of these vehicles are light-duty carrier route vehicles, and that's why we know that the contract is more than likely worth about 160,000 to 180,000 vehicles. You will see some discrepancies in different articles. It's a lot of vehicles. The payload capacity is approximately 1,400 pounds, so that's pretty standard. Anybody's going to be able to do that realistically. The NGDVs are expected to share some design similarities with current CRVs, but they will also need to incorporate changes to accommodate new market projections for mail and package delivery volumes. So they were aware of this more than 6 years ago. Think about how much has changed since then, my friends. A lot has changed. The NGDV design is also likely to benefit from today's availability of practical technological improvements for drivetrains, bodies, and chassis, as well as for safety, security, and loading/delivery operations. A major design objective for the new vehicle is to incorporate improved operator ergonomics and functionality to enable mail carriers to execute tasks more efficiently and safely. The USPS has drafted specifications outlining the NGDV interior and exterior dimensioning, design features, and functionality, right-hand steering, etc. Basically everything you're going to see here, all of them are going to have, obviously. Now back then, in order to leverage volume, the Postal Service anticipates making a single award to a supplier for up to 180,000 NGOVs. But they also said deliveries are expected to begin no later than January 2018. Since then, we have received updates that, it doesn't just need to be to a single supplier, and in all honesty, I don't think anybody expects any one company to get 100% of the contract. There may be some huge Workhorse bulls out there who do, but even I don't see that happening. I also don't see Ford and Oshkosh getting 100% either. And back then, they were seeking a vehicle with a designed unit cost between $25,000 to $35,000. Let me tell you, this was 6 years ago. A lot has changed since then. They are going to be willing to spend more. $50,000 plus as an absolute minimum in my personal opinion. Because keep in mind, the deliveries are expected to occur over a period that could range from 5 to 7 years in duration. So you have to take into account the inflation that's happened over the last 6 years, and the inflation that's going to happen forwards, and the increased technology that we have now compared to when all of this began. So a few key points there, okay, we can tell a lot of things have changed. One thing I'd love to point out is that they said themselves from day one, a major design objective for the new vehicle is to incorporate improved operator ergonomics. Then a couple of months later, the USPS CSO said new delivery vehicles will be more efficient. Vehicles are obviously one of our major sources of greenhouse gas emissions, he said. Whatever vehicle we choose must be financially justified. I think that is potentially most important for a company such as this one, okay? And at the same time, must reduce our impact on the environment. So of course that would lead you to believe that they want an electric vehicle. And there will be a lot more on this later on in the video. And we have seen government incentives left, right and centre, including the president himself coming out and saying that all government fleet vehicles are going to be electric and American made. So this was said pretty much 6 years ago, and we have the same thing being said 6 years later. It is not a coincidence. This is something that is very important to the USPS and the government in general. We're also going to get into some new people who are high up in the USPS now towards the end of the video. We have goals to reduce energy, to reduce water consumption, and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's something that throughout the Postal Service we fully embrace. Now let's go forward a little bit in time, okay? USPS selects 15 pre-qualified suppliers for next generation delivery vehicle, and you'll see them all here. AM General, AMP Holding, that's Workhorse now, and there's more there. You'll see people like Fiat Chrysler, obviously Ford is there, Carson, Mahindra who dropped out, Morgan Olson, we see OEM, we see Oshkosh Corporation. So you'll notice that Oshkosh and Ford are laid out differently. They weren't working together from the start. You will see the exact same thing with Carson and Morgan Olson. So obviously Workhorse got through the first round just fine. Now there's only 3 teams left in the running. And then about 3 years later, Oshkosh teams with Ford on a $6 billion USPS mail truck bid. So one prototype of the truck is based on the Ford's Transit cargo van was seen undergoing testing in rural Ohio. Although the agency, USPS, is looking at prototypes from other manufacturers that employ battery electric and plug-in hybrid powertrains, which we also see from Carson right now, the Oshkosh Ford entrant has an internal combustion engine. And this to me has always been the primary reason that I didn't believe they would get the largest portion of the contract, in all honesty. There is no beating around the bush that both Oshkosh and Ford are much bigger companies than Workhorse. You cannot dispute that fact, and that's coming from a Workhorse bull. Now Oshkosh and Ford both have, been going through some tough times over the last month or two. I'm not going to say that any of them are just doing good or just doing bad. We've seen a lot of layoffs, we've seen a lot of closures. But that's what needs to be understood in my opinion, okay? It has an internal combustion engine, my friends. And that does not fall in line with a lot of what we just previously spoke about. So again, myself personally and a lot of other Workhorse bulls always saw this as a positive thing for Workhorse, because, it didn't eliminate part of the competition because it obviously made it through the prototype rounds. Obviously, the USPS are considering it, but they were missing out on that green factor. So now I'm bringing you over to a Reddit post, but don't worry, it's not just some random Reddit. Oshkosh CEO had to say this last week during their earnings call, and this is in relation to the USPS contract. We've got a very strong, very comprehensive bid that meets all of the needs of the US Postal Service. I think what's important to understand is that he is not lying, my friends, okay? The USPS never said it was a need, an absolute necessity for the vehicle to be electric or to be hybrid. So that is not a lie. They do meet the absolute needs, the necessities. So I mean, repeat that, we do meet all the needs of the USPS Postal Service. Meaning if they want, under the Biden administration, more weight towards one type of propulsion than the other, aka electric, we're ready for that. Now we've got our fingers crossed. We believe we've got high reliability solutions and hope to have good news at the next earnings call. Now here's the point I want to argue. You can see that he says it himself here. If they want more weight towards one propulsion type or another, we're ready for that. They're ready to implement it, but it is not implemented. Simply put, it is still a standard ICE vehicle. The USPS needs this contract announced soon, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, they need it. We have literally seen their vehicles bursting into flames as of late. The last thing they're going to want to do is prolong this for another year to take new prototypes to go through all of the testing again. So I appreciate what the CEO of the company is saying, and I agree with what he is saying, and I'm sure that they could do these things, but the fact of the matter is, they haven't, and time may be running out. I have no doubt in my mind that Oshkosh and Ford obviously could electrify whatever vehicle they want, but they can't just stick a battery in the vehicle they have right now. That's not how it works. So fair enough on what he's saying. I appreciate it. I'm trying to give both sides of the story. Now I want to bring you back in time again a little bit further. September 22nd, 2016. USPS awards Ngdv prototype contract to VT Hackney and Workhorse Group team. A lot of you guys probably will know that VT Hackney and Workhorse were working together. Now it's just Workhorse. But back then, Steve Burns was still CEO. And he had this to say: the USPS wants a vehicle to operate efficiently and economically for 20 years. The Hackney Workhorse team has designed a safe and ergonomic vehicle, there's that word again, with a drivetrain that is built to last and will deliver efficiencies of operation. We believe the prototype vehicles we are building are truly representative of the next generation of delivery vehicles, and years later, we can now see this to be true. I mean, Steve Burns is no longer at the company, he's now with Lordstown Motors. Great man, interviewed him twice, but the point still stands, and we have seen this as of late from companies such as Pritchard, etc., putting in these large orders with Workhorse. We salute the USPS for its drive to capture innovation and leading technologies in its vehicle testing process. These types of vehicles definitely move things into the future. April 23rd, 2015. Senators urge USPS to invest in cutting-edge improvements for fleet of vehicles. We applaud the USPS recent issuance of a request for information for next-generation delivery vehicle acquisition program, and recognise that this is an important first step towards modernising the USPS fleet. This transition provides USPS with a unique opportunity to lead the country in the use of safer, more fuel-efficient vehicles made in the United States. So again, guys, we're seeing similarities from 6 years ago to what President Biden is saying today. Nothing has changed. And again, I know it's all just words on paper, okay? This isn't one of the necessities. This isn't one of the requirements for the vehicles. I'm not going to sit here and say that it is. We can see that it's clearly something that everybody involved wants to happen. January 26th, 2021. President Biden plans to replace the government's fleet with American-made electric cars. 35% of the federal government's vehicles on the road are operated by the United States Postal Service, the USPS. If the president of the country is to come out and say that they're going to replace the entire government fleet with American-made electric cars, I mean, come on, guys. While this contract is going on, the president says something like this: do you really go with one of the competitors that isn't electric and all American made? I mean, Carson and Morgan Olsen are working together. Carson's Turkish based. Then we have Oshkosh and Ford, which is fair enough, but it's an ICE vehicle. And then we have Workhorse, an all American, all electric vehicle. So here's one thing that I just want to touch on briefly, okay? Trump's Postmaster General wants to stay on the job, but his days in the Biden administration may be numbered. Now you may ask, why am I going to bring you through this? It doesn't seem very relevant. There's a lot of pressure being put out there to get the joy out of the USPS, but he is still actively pushing ahead and even plans to release a new 10-year plan for the agency in the next few days. That is why I'm including this, because if we get a 10-year plan, that's going to be huge, and again, it could give us more hints towards who's going to win this contract. Now, this information is just coming from several sources familiar with his plans to tell CNN. Then we have this Democrat Ron Bloom named Postal Board Chair amid calls to fire Louis DeJoy. Now, I'm not going to get into this too much. You can if you do so wish, but again, it's obviously a Democrat. And the thing about this, okay, is a US president can't directly fire the Postmaster General. The board normally consists of as many as 9 governors appointed by the president, and the governors select the Postmaster General. So this could be the start of that. This could be the start of the USPS, being managed in a very, very new way under Biden. We're going to have to wait and see. So that is a lot of the history of the USPS contract. And while I personally still believe that Workhorse makes the most sense to get the contract. I know a lot of people think I'm biased. I know a lot of people think I'm just some, just see Red Bull. I can't notice the competition. I really can. I can see the case for Oshkosh and Ford in particular, okay? If it wasn't an ICE vehicle, I would think they would be getting a very large portion of the contract. Carson, not so much. I mean, I don't really see the appeal there. I don't think they're the biggest threat, and I've said that on the channel for a long time. I still do see Ford and Oshkosh getting some portion of the contract, but I still do genuinely believe Workhorse is going to get their fair share of 50+% as well. It is just a waiting game at this stage, my friends. Obviously, anything could happen happen over the next couple of weeks, over the next month and a half to 2 months. I think we all just want the contract to be announced now so that we at least know what's happening. One more thing I'd like to point out though, my friends, obviously as a Workhorse bull, is I am a Workhorse bull. I love the company without the USPS contract. And I've spoke about this so much on the channel before, I really just do love them. I love their outlook, I love their innovation. I love the fact they're working on refrigeration. I love the patents they have in regards to their horse drone. I love the management team. I love everything about Workhorse. I'm not ignorant, and I understand if we don't get the USPS contract, boom, they go flying back down for at least a short period of time before they find a more reasonable price. The same can't be said in my opinion for Oshkosh or Ford. I mean, I don't care for either of those companies or cars in any of them. I mean, I've looked into them all, my friends. I've done my research. I don't like them. But they are, of course, just my thoughts and opinions. Always form your own. But anyway, my friends, that was it for today's video. I know it's a little bit different, but hopefully you guys enjoyed and I was able to give you guys some useful information going forwards. If I was able to do that, and if you did enjoy the video, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button, drop me a comment down below, and please, my friends, subscribe if you're new around here. Also, if you are interested in joining that private Discord group, it is the first link in the description. Again, access to all of my buy and sell alerts. We have that 10 to 20k challenge going down right now. Over 50 private channels, over 2,500 investors. It's juicy. If you want those free stocks on Webull, that's the second link. Anyway, guys, I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed day. I'll see you for another video very soon. Peace.